I found the biggest human turd who needs to be the poster boy, the poster child for everything wrong with bailing out student loans. Good morning. Happy Thursday. It is great to be here on KCMO 95.7 FM. So this went viral yesterday afternoon. I got a real kick out of it because I'm thinking to myself, if you have any doubt as to whether or not student loan bailouts are just awful policies that bail out white-collar people at the expense of blue-collar workers, this is the – if I can't get you worked up at 6:06 on a Thursday with this story, then I don't know if I can do it. So Ben Kamens is a guy who is a communication staffer for a member of Congress. He works for Ohio Representative Marcy Kaptur, a Democrat in Ohio. He earns over $90,000 a year working as Marcy's communications director. And this guy went viral yesterday because he shared a letter from the Biden administration saying that his student loans have been forgiven. The letter that he shared here that went viral, and I'll put it up on my X page at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. It says, Benjamin, congratulations. The Biden-Harris administration has forgiven your federal student loans listed below. This is amazing, by the way. First off, this is, as we said, they are buying votes. And they are literally doing what the Supreme Court said they legally cannot do. But they're doing it anyway. The administration is bragging about defying the Supreme Court. Whatever happened to all the norms and decency back to the White House and, the big orange guy was so scary. This guy is literally defying the Supreme Court during an election year to buy votes with our monies. So he writes this letter, or this guy Benjamin gets this letter, and it says the Biden-Harris administration has forgiven your federal student loans listed below. And there are two student loans on here. One for $5,500, one for $2,700, and the disbursement dates came in the summer of 2010. So think about this. This guy's a staffer for a member of Congress, makes over $90,000 a year. He's got a total of $8,200 in principal in 14 years, which he failed to pay off, which comes out to $589 a year, which comes out to less than $50 freaking dollars a month. This schmuck couldn't pay $50 a month for his student loans. Fine, maybe with interest it's a little more. He couldn't pay $50 a month of student loans for the better part of 14 years, making $90,000 a year, and he sat around waiting for somebody to bail out his student loans. Everything about the mindset is wrong. Everything about what the administration is doing is wrong. But these are the people, as you sip your coffee at 6:09 this morning, you're going to work. You're getting up, you're sacrificing. Maybe you've paid off your student loans. You're paying your taxes. You're doing it by the book. You're trying to raise a family. Maybe you've done that. You want to start a family. This guy's getting his $8,200 of student loans bailed out from 14 years ago when he couldn't pay $48 a month. I mean, you're paying this guy's loans off so he could do one more night out with the boys every month for the better part of 14 years. That is pathetic. And this is the kind of stuff that the administration wants to do more of. Buy the votes of hucksters like this at your expense. And it's amazing to me, too, how they send out these letters and they say, congratulations, the Biden-Harris administration has forgiven your federal student loans. No. You and I are forgiving those student loans. You and I are doing it. This story from CNN yesterday, student loan relief contributing to 27% jump in the projected federal budget deficit, according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's 27% or $400 billion larger than the agency estimated back in February. looking longer term, the nation's debt will approach $57 trillion in fiscal year 2034, nearly $2.5 trillion higher than previously projected, as spending on Social Security, Medicare, and interest payments soar and revenues fail to keep pace. The growing imbalance is expected to loom large over upcoming congressional budget and tax battles. Most of the spike in the fiscal year 2024 deficit stems from four factors that are expected to boost projected spending. The largest is a $145 billion increase due to changes the Biden administration made to student loan repayment plans. A new proposed forgiveness program that would waive some accrued interest for millions of borrowers. The latter has yet to be finalized, but could take effect as soon as this fall. We are staring tens of trillions of dollars of debt right in the face in the country. And we're paying off some congressional staffer chump making $90,000 a year, an $8,000 loan from 14 years ago, because he couldn't be bothered to pay $48 a month. This is the quintessential example of who this administration is catering to. OWWs, overeducated, woke whites in large part, who went to college, who just don't want to pay their loans back. So you can. The everyday grinder who's getting up this morning on the early shift and, just trying to make a living, and you're bailing out these loans. It's truly unbelievable. And it all came together and perfectly when I saw this story yesterday, as much as it pains me to have to share this story. Meantime, speaking of things happening in education and things happening in schools, this here locally, Blue Springs Board of Education President Bobby Hawk has resigned amid awful allegations made on social media. President Dr. Bobby Hawk voluntarily submitted his resignation in Blue Springs. The board accepted unanimously. Statement was put out saying they maintain the highest standards of integrity and trust in their leadership. It is with a profound sense of responsibility and commitment to transparency that we acknowledge the recent allegations concerning board president Dr. Bobby Hawk. The board unanimously accepts his resignation. In a blog post that surfaced here recently, a woman has accused Hawk of behaving inappropriately with her when she was 12 years old. Hawk's term was up in 2025, according to election records. So, this is right now an accusation, but obviously credible enough where he has put in his resignation. The board has accepted that resignation in Blue Springs. And now we see where this goes, if anywhere, on the legal side with Bobby Hawk, who was, up until yesterday, the school board president out there in Blue Springs. So keeping an eye on that this morning as the story unfolds on 95.7 FM KCMO. We have a very busy morning today. Quentin Lucas at 7:30. We've got Andrew Bailey, the Missouri Attorney General, running for election at 8:05. Kevin Keatsman at 8:35. And Prasanth Reddy, Kansas 3rd District candidate, at 9:05 on KCMO. And, of course, those Tucker Carlson tickets for you at 8:15 right here on 95.7 FM. Well, there is a new member of the Kansas City community. We'll get you that story next on 95.7 FM. Well, congratulations to the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, who announced yesterday that he and his wife, Catherine, welcomed their second son to the world this week. So how about a little round of applause for the mayor of Kansas City. He's like you, John, couple of boys, right? How about that? You can give him some advice when you talk to him before he hops on the air this morning. So that'll be good. He's going to be here at 7:30 as far as I know. No one canceled on us. So looking forward to congratulating him personally firsthand.
Try to get my headphones working. There we go. Say my advice to him is once you get the third one, your role becomes more referee than parental. So I was going to say, heads up.
Well, I can give him that advice as well if he's on the fence about number 3. Mm-hmm. It is a game changer, put it that way, as Mark knows as well. But Mark's got his 2 who are older. They're 11 and 8. And then here's number 3. So Mark's got like a built-in babysitter already, which is kind of a nice place to be.
Kind of close.
Except he's got no baby clothes left, so he had to start from scratch and all that stuff.
That's also true.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons like anything else. We've got all the baby clothes. We got everything we need. Mark's, learning how to change diapers again. He thought that phase of his life was long gone. But he's back in the saddle. By the way, how was your Juneteenth, Mark? I know you had the day off yesterday. Did you have a good cookout?
Oh, yeah. We wore the fanny packs out there and did the cookout thing and played catch.
Celebrated the proper way?
Yeah.
Okay. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, Mark had the day off. Don't worry. He was actually taking care of some family business, but we had to have some fun at his expense yesterday. Since we were here, we were grinding away. I know many of you were off, of course, but we're back in the saddle here on 95.7 FM. So Quentin Lucas welcoming his second son. He says, I'm fortunate each day to be mayor of Kansas City, but my greatest blessing is being a father. I'll be working a reduced schedule over the weeks ahead to spend time with baby Q, his older brother Bennett, and my amazing wife. All right, so no paternity leave like his old pal Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who I think was gone for like 2 months to pretend he was chest feeding or something like that. So Mayor Q, he may admire Mayor Pete in some respects, but to his credit, he will continue to run the city and just work on a reduced schedule, which, for Mayor Q is probably going from like a 16-hour day to a 12-hour day.
Right, I was going to say.
Whether you like the guy or not, he is everywhere and anywhere he can be.
I got a newborn, trying to keep a couple of major league franchises in my city, dealing with cops.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'll take a break. Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. At least he timed his baby's birth after, budget season happens in Kansas City, Missouri. Of course, that's in the spring. Meantime, on the other side of the state, a lawsuit has been filed challenging St. Louis's guaranteed basic income program. So you think, you got some issues here in Kansas City. St. Louis taxpayers are suing to stop a guaranteed basic income program from taking place over in St. Louis. Lawyers filed suit, which pays families chosen in a lottery $500 per month for 18 months. The lawyers claim it violates the city's charter and the state constitution. The program, with $5 million in federal American Rescue Plan Act funds and a $1 million donation from Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, pays 540 families with a child or dependent in the St. Louis Public School District or public charter school, and has a combined household income of less than 170% of the poverty level and experienced negative financial impacts during COVID-19, $500 per month for 18 months. The payments will be made to a debit card and have no spending restrictions. It's just a $500 a month check. So this lawsuit has been filed. A city spokesperson as of yesterday declined comment on the pending litigation, and the city has until June 28th to reply to this lawsuit. Now, you know how I feel about universal basic income and just guaranteed basic income. It's stupid. It's not a long-term plan. It doesn't make any economic sense. However, let me put a however in there. With the way the conversations have gone here as of late around the stadiums in this town, the way that we've sat here and, listened to two billionaire sports franchises say we need hundreds of millions of dollars from you, the way that we've seen Texas just completely bend over to try to get themselves a couple of pro sports franchises using government tools, while it's maybe not direct payments from the taxpayers, it's still effectively corporate welfare. The way we've seen that play out the last couple of months in this town, I'm admittedly having a hard time getting all bent out of shape over some families getting $500 a month for 18 months. Trust me, I don't like welfare programs. I think you need welfare programs temporarily for people in need. Do I think the welfare state at large has gotten way too big and people have become way too reliant on it? Absolutely, I have. No doubt about it. However, we sit here and talk about crony capitalism for 2 months now, and no one bats an eye. In fact, many of you disagree with me on it, and that's fine. That's your prerogative, but you support it. You're like, yeah, that sounds great. We got to do what you got to do. Want professional sports? This is what it takes. And I'm supposed to freak out over a handful of people getting $500 a month? I was just reading the story last night, and yeah, I started to get annoyed because inherently I don't like it. And then I put it into some perspective with where the conversation has been in this town. And I'm like, really? I'm going to freak out over that right now? I'm going to get all bent out of shape over that right now? Do I think it's bad economic policy? Yeah, I do. I really do think it's bad economic policy. But I also can't sit here and lose my mind over it, considering where the bulk of the conversation has been regarding, taxpayer-funded initiatives in Kansas City as of late. On the text line, Pete, if any of those people rent, how much do you want to bet their landlord raises their rent $500 a month? That's a great point. I get that's an outstanding point. If they know they got the monies, that's an outstanding point. But at the same time, then the renter, depending on where their lease is at, could get up and go and leave for somewhere else.
Well, I had a slightly different angle. I thought, okay, if you're giving this money out, then make sure their rent is paid.
Or that too, yeah.
See, but I didn't consider that somebody would be, just as unscrupulous and go, your rent's up $500.
Yeah.
That's not right either.
That's not at all. So that's what's going on in St. Louis. This lawsuit is filed now as of this week. So just know, for some of you, obviously upset with where things are at in Kansas City, and I'm not saying they're great right now. Could be St. Louis dishing out, guaranteed basic income. And then I saw this in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and I'm just going to read the headline because the headline tells the story. St. Louis is one of the nation's best cities for a nude bike ride, according to a new study. Do with that information what you will. And by the way, somewhere, Kansas City Councilman Bike Boy Bunch, Eric Bunch, is very jealous. Very, very jealous. I heard he's going into council this week to demand some more bike lanes. He wants to be the best city for nude bike rides.
Sounds painful to me.
Yeah, I'm not looking to try that one anytime soon.
Wonderful on a day like today.
Yeah. You're not getting off the seat a day like you're going to be stuck to the seat. News coming up in 2 minutes. A new poll. Not good for the Donnie boy. We'll get to it next. We got some new polling I'm going to share with you coming up here in a couple of minutes on KCMO. Happy Thursday as we get it rolling on 95.7 FM. John's in Grain Valley as St. Louis gets sued over its universal basic income plan, giving families $500 a month for 18 months. What's up there, Big John?
Morning, Pete. Hey, couple points, if you can indulge me. One, okay, $500 a month, yay. What happens when that's over? What happens then?
Mm-hmm.
Because now you've got, look up what happened in Denver, $1,000 a month. They spent over $7 million and saved about $500,000. So typical government, let's spend $7 million, save $500,000, and now, oh gee golly, wow, we found out that program's actually going to be almost $50 million. Shocking news.
Yep.
So if they want to do that, why doesn't Jack Dorsey give a call to a couple of the other folks and say, you know what, why don't we privately fund this out of our money for a while? Hell, we'll even take the tax donation. So my problem becomes, once this program has started, like all government programs, with the greatest of intention, a.k.a. welfare handouts and entitlements, then what happens, because it's all taxpayer money, and somebody's got to pay for it through their property taxes and all the other taxes and fees that happen at the local level in St. Louis and surrounding counties, because somebody's got to fund this, because it's the right thing to do. And as for the big billionaires and millionaires, just multiply it. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well said, John.
One breath like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura. I feel good about myself now.
As you should, my man. You got it off your chest. No, listen, that's a great call, John. It is. I'm in no way a fan of universal basic income. If Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, who probably still hates himself for selling Twitter to Elon Musk, but if he wants to do a trial balloon on UBI in St. Louis, which he did fund this deal with, then he should do it privately. He can set up a little company that gets this money out to folks and helps them out. And, they test it out for 18 months. And, you'd like to think that people would save those dollars and cents. People don't do that, but they would save their monies, try to build some net worth, and get out of the dumps that they find themselves in. Use that money to further their education, develop skills that can make them more money. That's what people thinking beyond today would do. That's typically, of course, that's not how it happens, and that's how we've got this, multi-billion-dollar boondoggle of a welfare system that we currently find ourselves in today. So John's right. He's right about it across the board. And I'm glad he brought up that point in terms of how to potentially privatize it. I am not advocating for St. Louis. I'm just saying this morning, with where the conversation's been in this town as of late, which is which state can give more monies and subsidies and corporate welfare to billion-dollar sports entities, I'm having a more difficult time than usual getting bent out of shape over $500 for poor families in St. Louis, even though I inherently don't like it. I think it's bad policy. What happens in 18 months? How does it end? It doesn't. I'm just saying, given where the news cycle has been in this town, I'm struggling on that one today. That's all. Now, something else I'm struggling with here is a new poll that came out from Fox News. This was released yesterday afternoon, and it shows that Joe Biden is leading Donald Trump by a razor-thin margin for the 2024 election. Now, it's not a big deal that Trump or is losing nationwide. It's not. I mean, that's not how we elect a president, right? It's not a nationwide popular vote. And oftentimes the big blue states skew the nationwide popular vote. So I'm less concerned about that. It shows Joe Biden up 50-48 in a head-to-head rematch of the 2020 election. Now, this is flipped from where it was just a month ago when a Fox News poll had Donald Trump up 1 point. Okay, once again, whatever. We're basically 1-2 points either way for either guy. It's a close race, right? But when you dig into some of the numbers, here's where Donald Trump should be concerned. Joe Biden saw a surge in support from independent voters who favor him over Trump by 9 points. In May, it was Donald Trump who had a 2-point advantage over Joe Biden with independent voters. Meantime, Donald Trump's advantage over Joe Biden on two top issues, immigration and the economy, fell sharply from last month. On immigration, voters trust Trump more than Biden by 9 points. But the former president enjoyed a 15-point trust advantage back in May. So his advantage in immigration is down 40%. On the economy, Trump holds a 5-point edge over Joe Biden. That is down from his 13-point lead last month. Now, how do you read this? How I read this and what this should mean for Donald Trump is that the only thing that should matter for him and his campaign is leaning into issues that are important to the American people where they perceive him as being the better candidate. And the economy and immigration are two top issues right now in this country. And that's all Donald Trump should be talking about. How do I gain double-digit leads back on the economy and immigration? If he can get his lead back to where it needs to be on those issues, he can and will win. But if he keeps losing ground on those issues, then listen, if it becomes a personality contest, as much as, we can goof on Joe Biden, there's not much there anymore. We all see it every single day. Trump also, like it or not, remains a highly unpopular individual with a lot of people in the country, and that's something he has to overcome. He can overcome it by being the guy who's substantially better on policy, where people say, I may not love him, I may not like his style, but gosh, the policy differences between these two men are so stark, I'm going in there and I'm voting Trump. That's what he has to think about. That's the voter he has to think about. The diehard MAGA voter, of which there are many of you, will walk over hot coals for this guy, no matter what happens between now and November. But the reality is, he cannot win this election with only you. He can't. He needs those people who are on the fence. He needs to win these independent voters. And he has to do it by being the better policy guy. Not by being Donald Trump, just being the better policy guy and being perceived as the guy who, when it comes to the economy, who, when it comes to fixing the debacle that is the southern border and immigration, he's the guy that's going to get the job done. I don't think talking about how feeble Joe Biden is really at this point does him any good. I mean, we all see it every day. We don't need the reminders on that. Let the surrogates do that. Let, his media allies do that. What Trump needs to do is be the guy that independent voter looks at and says, I just have no choice. I have no option. Joe Biden is so bad and Donald Trump is so much better that I don't care if I don't like Trump. I got to get out there and I got to vote for him. That's the person that he needs to be thinking about here. So you take one poll, any poll is with a grain of salt. And there's a lot of very good polling out there for Donald Trump as well right now. But when this Fox News poll dropped yesterday, I thought to myself, okay, I mean, maybe it's an outlier. You never take one as gold. But you also should, use it as a tool in your toolbox and say, okay, how should I interpret this poll? What should this poll mean for me and my campaign over the next 5 to 6 months? And with this one, you don't overreact to any of them, but you at least use it as an opportunity to say, what can I learn about my campaign and my approach from it? And that would be my very obvious takeaway if I'm Donald Trump. And by the way, this poll was conducted June 14th to 17th. So here in the last week. And just in case you're wondering, the guilty verdicts for Trump in the hush money trial and first son Hunter Biden did not move the needle much. Only 2% of voters saying Trump's conviction swayed them to support the president. And an equal percentage said Hunter's conviction moved them back to the former president. So it really was inconsequential on the legal stuff. 913-408-7957. That's the studio line. That is the text line here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. In the meantime, something is going to be banned in Kansas starting this summer. And I'm A-OK with it, and hopefully you are as well. We'll tell you what that is next. I've been tough on the Kansas legislature here the last few days because I have a lot of questions about these star bonds that they are just going to, potentially hand out to the two professional sports franchises. But I will say this, when they get something right, and they do get a lot of things right, they deserve credit for that. So this summer, Pornhub will cease operating in 5 states due to new legislation that requires age verification on adult entertainment websites. The move here is a response to a wave of recently passed laws that require porn websites and other platforms with explicit adults-only content to collect proof of their users' ages. In all these states, that means people would need to upload a copy of their driver's license or other government ID or register with a third-party verification service in order to use sites like Pornhub. A blog post from Pornhub said that its latest locations for shutdowns are Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Nebraska, and Kansas. The site said it would end operations in those states in July of 2024. And by the way, I'm hitting this in the 6 a.m. hour before the kids get up. You're in the car, you're driving around, and you're hearing about Pornhub on the show. But I think this is an important conversation politically and culturally to have right now in this country. The site says it will cease operations in these states, including Kansas, by next month, July. The website closed in Texas last week, has also blocked access to its site in Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, North Carolina, Utah, and Virginia in response to similar state legislation. So Kansas is doing the work that needs to be done. It's one thing to talk about like tax cuts and being business friendly and, how to create a state that people want to live in and move to. All those things matter. But if you have cultural rot, then does it really matter whether or not your income tax rate is 5.7 or 5.5 or 5.2%? What are you doing on that front? And listen, if you're a male right now who grew up with the internet, you probably have seen porn at some point in your life. Okay? You probably have. And that's okay. When you're 18, you're in your early 20s. I mean, listen, y'all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I'm not immune to it from being a young, naive, dopey kid. But then you look at it and you say to yourself, as you kind of grow up, you say, is any of this good culturally or societally for us as a community, as a state, and as a country? And it's not. It's not. But for those of us who grew up in like the internet age, when suddenly everything was available at your fingertips, there's a lot of downside to it. And I can tell you firsthand, there are people I know who I went to college with who fell into very deep and dark places because of this content. They weren't people I was really close to, but there's a lot of people that I knew, a handful of people, I should say, who went into very dark places with this stuff, and they literally had to leave school because of it and get help because of it. But it's taboo. It's not like alcoholism or drug use where, you just go and talk about it and deal with it. It's not like that. It's very different. And I'm glad that states, including Kansas, is stepping up to the plate and doing something about it.
Age verification for adult content. Are there broader implications here? We've talked about the internet. The adult content doesn't necessarily have to be pornographic.
True.
We talked about gambling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we just talked about the addiction that tends to take over on teenagers and how much time they spend.
Social media.
Why not have an internet license? You just go and you do it, and okay, and you just are there broader implications? Is what I'm saying. I'm not a censorship guy, but I'm like, some of this makes sense that maybe you got to be 16 or 18, or maybe there are certain sites that are exempt and say, hey, your TV news site's free. There's no age verification necessary, right?
Yeah.
Our website or whatever. But could there be, just like movie ratings, there's a block here that you've got to be 16, another block 20? Well, maybe.
That's a great question, John.
What I'm saying is clearly if we can do it, then we can do it.
I am intrigued by that conversation. I don't like the idea inherently of the government saying, here are the websites you can go to and can't go to. That being said, when it's as black and white as pornography, I'm open to the converation.
And movie ratings, they're not necessarily government, so any independent body or the government is your problem.
Well,
sidebar.
It's kind of like, R-rated movies you can go to if you have a parent with you, right? So
right.
Do I want a parent saying, sure, kid, go look at that porn. I'll give you the right to do that.
Good point.
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably
not.
That
defeats the purpose, maybe.
So, but listen, it's part of a bigger conversation. We've talked about how I don't think social media should be used by anybody under the age of at least 16, but probably 18, because we know the addictive nature of it and what it can lead to. If Kansas is now passing laws that gets Pornhub out of the state, I mean, that's outstanding when you talk about the broader picture here. Now, I do want to bring this point up, and it's in relation to what Pornhub is saying in response here. What Pornhub is saying in response is that basically now people are going to find porn in some way, shape, or form, and they're going to go to dark corners of the internet to find it. Well, by that justification, drugs should not be illegal. If Pornhub's response to all this is to say, and this is in part of their statement, they said these people will not stop looking for porn. They will just migrate to darker corners of the internet that don't ask users for verified age, that don't follow the law, that don't take user safety seriously, oh, please, and that often don't even moderate content. That's like saying... all drugs should be legal because you know what? I mean, people are going to do drugs anyway. If cocaine's illegal, they're going to find ways to get it. So we might as well just make it legal.
More analysis later on.
That's not how a civilized society is going to run and can run. 913-408-7957.
It's Mundo
as
in
we
the
approach 7 o'clock here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7
and
FM.
710 AM. Kansas City's place to talk.
We've got a new most valuable company in the world as of yesterday. Any guesses from the Peanut Gallery?
Let me look at that again real quick.
Most valuable company in the world.
Worldwide.
Yes.
Not Amazon?
No, it's a good guess there, Mark. You're in the ballpark, I would say, of where you need to be.
Monsanto. Dr. Pepper?
NVIDIA! Yeah, Dr. Pepper. Oh, gosh. The guy who drinks a Dr. Pepper every morning from the vending machine for $1.75 guessing Dr. Pepper. That's too good. NVIDIA passing Microsoft to become the world's most valuable company this week, as its high-end processors play a central role in a scramble to dominate artificial intelligence technology, John.
I was trying to figure out, what do I own that has NVIDIA? Is that the computer stuff?
Yes. Uh-huh. Well, here's the thing, John. You keep guessing things like Dr. Pepper. I'm going to replace you with some AI bot one day, courtesy of NVIDIA. That's what's going to happen here. Although I don't think the robot can match your humor and sarcasm.
It cannot.
No, it can't. That's the thing. People are like, in radio, by the way, I think AI jocks are coming, music jocks are coming. They're already testing it in some cities, I know, for like overnight shifts. How are you going to duplicate this? Come on. This is real right here.
Well, AI is like Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I am not worried right now about what we do being replaced by AI. I do see a world where there's AI TV anchors. Like, they're already testing that in some countries where they literally have a robot reading you the news. They basically will have somebody write the news, input it into the teleprompter, and a robot will read it to you. I mean, there's no... And I love my friends in TV, but there's not a lot of personality there. There's a reason they're pretty faces that read news. But how are you going to duplicate the organic nature of talk radio? I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't think you can, at least not in my lifetime. But NVIDIA, which of course is dominating the AI world, has passed Microsoft. Shares were up here the other day, 3.5%. Of course, the markets closed yesterday to celebrate and honor Juneteenth. But now you look at it, and they've passed Apple and they've passed Microsoft. They now have a market cap of $3.335 trillion. Microsoft is at 3.317. Apple's at 3.286. So it's a battle there at the top between those three stocks. But NVIDIA has taken the cake and is now the most valuable company in the world, John Anthony.
None of them have the McDonald's contract that got lost, right?
No, they don't.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. So
I wondered about that. The one at 77th and Metcalf, you can get like $100 worth of chicken nuggets real fast. It's like, okay, one chicken nugget. Okay, one chicken nugget. You're like, stop. Okay.
I don't know. I can't speak to that for certain, but I don't think so.
When I saw McDonald's dropping it, I thought of 77th and Metcalf. That's the one where I've had several incidents where it won't stop.
I won't tell your heart doctor that, by the way.
No, well, this is all prior to.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
That's right. Oh, come on. Let's go, baby. Let's go. There's no AI talk show host who's dropping the Thunderburk like we are here on KCMO. I'll tell you that right now. So NVIDIA, by the way, is skyrocketed this year alone. But here's the thing. With the stock market doing as well as it's done this year, and it has done tremendous, there's no denying that, it in large part has been driven by a small handful of tech stocks. In fact, most of the stock market is underperforming the average returns this year, which tells you you're seeing a handful of stocks driving the market at large. And it's the, NVIDIA's, Microsoft's, Apple's, Amazon's, Tesla's, the Magnificent Seven, as they're called. And there is concern. I don't think this is like 2000 .com-ish bubble. I don't, because I think AI is like legit and is here to stay. But at the same time, you can't have Joe Biden or anybody else telling you the market's strong, the economy is strong, just look at the stock market. which is being driven by 5 tech stocks. That, if you have a 401k, that's great, but let's be honest. People on Main Street have 401ks. We have them, but it doesn't change your purchasing power. It just means actually you can't afford to save as much as you could a year, 2, 3 years ago. That's what it means. By the way, Mark was asking this a couple of days ago. Remember when it came down that lawmakers in Topeka were going to be dining with members of the team at a steakhouse in Lawrence? Remember we talked about that a couple of days ago?
Yeah, we did. Mm-hmm.
Mark was dying to find out where they were going to go eat.
I thought it might be Don's.
Well, we got the information for you here, Mark.
All right.
You ready? I know you couldn't make it out there. Not that you were invited. They went to eat at 6 Mile Chop House and Tavern in Lawrence. Have not been? Have either of you guys been there?
Nope.
No? Okay. Well, it's got pretty good reviews on Google, 4.2 stars out of 967 Google reviews. Looks pretty nice on the inside as well. That's a pretty good-looking steak I'm looking at here. But anyway, so that's where a bunch of Royals officials dined Kansas House and Senate Democrats. So the dinner, per the Missouri Independent, this was on Monday night before the big vote on Tuesday. Brooks Sherman, chief operating officer for the Royals, and lobbyists hosted lawmakers at the 6 Mile Chop House and Tavern on Monday. Talk about the Royals' interest in Kansas, according to an email from a lobbyist inviting Kansas House and Senate Democrats. Outside the restaurant, lawmakers said they weren't too concerned about the idea of their votes on legislation worth hundreds of millions of dollars being influenced over dinner. Depends how good the steak is, right? Oh, my God.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money?
Takes on a whole new meaning. You're not worth my steak money? Come on now. Let's go.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money?
You know, what the lawmakers should have done as they were walking out after their free steak is look at the teams and say, I got my free steak, but as far as I'm concerned...
You still poor, broke, busted, and disgusted.
That's right. Pay for your own damn stadium. How about that? You still poor, broke, busted, and disgusted.
Kansas needs to seal Funderburk.
Where is Pastor Funderburk when you need him? Hire him over there. Have him lobby in Topeka. That's what we need. That guy will set everyone straight. So the meal came the night before lawmakers were expected to vote on whether to expand a state tax incentive program to help finance a new stadium for the Royals or the Chiefs to lure the teams from Missouri. The project could also receive a boost from liquor taxes generated in the Star Bond District and revenues from a fund Kansas created, of course, when it legalized sports betting. Now, here's what's interesting. Some of the lawmakers talked about whether or not they were going to go to the events and whether or not they thought it was appropriate for them to go to this steak dinner. Rep. Jerry Stodgill, Democrat from Prairie Village, said it was par for the course for lawmakers to get lobbied at evening events. Jerry he loves himself some T-bone. He said, I don't think there's going to be a single person in there tonight that's going to be persuaded to vote against their conscience and against their constituents. Yeah. Oh, come on now, Jerry. Please. I might have been born at night there, Jerry, but it wasn't last night. First off, the assumption that most politicians have a conscience is just absolutely hysterical to me. And the notion that a politician would not vote against the interests of their constituents, I mean, please, that is laughable. It's laughable, Jerry. Linda Featherstone, Overland Park Democrat, said this week she declined to attend the dinner, to attend the lobbying event. She said, I don't want there to be any questions about undue influence. It's interesting that only Democrats were invited. I guess the Royals figured they had the Republicans already, lock, stock, and barrel in their back pockets there, and they do. Most of the lobbyists who were hired were Republican lobbyists. So I guess they felt they still had to grease the skids on the Democrats a little bit, which whatever. I mean, none of this is illegal, right? I'm not suggesting anything like that. It's just, it's good to have the information. It's good to know what's out there. It's good to know who's going to what dinners. And maybe it's a new steakhouse to try out when you go into Lawrence next. All right? There you go.
I'll stick to Johnny's.
All right, Mark will stick to Johnny's. There you go, Mark. Every man. Mark Van Sickle right there for you, ladies and gentlemen.